I didn't leave my kids. I just thought I'd found someone who truly cared. She held my hand and called me her forever. But the truth is, I wasn't her partner. I was her retirement plan. You're my only real family now, Fawini whispered, her fingers tracing circles on my weathered hand. The Bangkok skyline sparkled beneath us from the rooftop restaurant, city lights reflecting in her dark eyes like promises I wanted to believe. I just transferred another 100,000 baht to her account for her mother's dental surgery. The third emergency this month. But sitting there, watching her smile at me with what felt like genuine love, I couldn't bring myself to question it. That memory weighed heavy on me again a few nights ago when I opened an email from one of you. Not Fawini, not anyone from her world. It was from a longtime viewer of this channel, someone who told me he's been quietly following for months, carrying his own pain in silence. He said these stories gave him the courage to finally speak, to admit what happened to him after years of burying it. When I first read his message, I felt a sting shame, the kind that makes your throat tighten. Then came anger, not at him, but at how common this trap seems to be. So many of us walking into the same fire, convinced our story is different. But as I kept reading, something changed. The anger softened into recognition, relief, even. His words reminded me that these scars don't make us weak, they make us human. By the time I finished, I wasn't just sad. I was grateful. Grateful that one more man had stepped out of the shadows to say, "Me too." Mine reason. So before I take you deeper, let me pause. If these confessions resonate with you, please like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment. And tell me, where are you watching from tonight? Whether it's Bangkok, Berlin, or Boston, I read every one, and they mean more than I can say. And to those who come back week after week, I want to give you a super thank you. You're not just viewers, you're the reason I can keep telling these stories, even when they cut deep. Let me take you back to where it all started. I never thought I'd feel this way again at 67, I told her, meaning every word. She leaned closer, her voice soft as silk. Age is just a number, my darling. What matters is how you make me feel safe. Safe. That word hit me right in the chest. When was the last time anyone had made me feel needed like that? When was the last time someone had looked at me and seen more than just another lonely expat with a pension? You saved me, Leland, she continued, her accent making my name sound exotic, important. Before you, I was so scared about Mama's health, about losing my job. You're like an angel. I squeezed her hand tighter, feeling that familiar warmth spread through my chest. Here was this beautiful, intelligent woman, telling me I was her hero. At my age, after everything I'd lost, how could I not fall completely? The waiter brought our check, and I barely glanced at the numbers before laying down my credit card. Money didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the way she looked at me, like I was the most important person in her world. "Thank you for dinner, my love," she said, kissing my cheek. "You always take such good care of me." I felt like I was 25 again, walking her back to my condo through the humid Bangkok night. She made me feel younger than I'd felt in decades. My ex-wife Sarah had never looked at me the way Fawini did. My kids, Emma and Michael, they'd stopped seeing me as anything but an obligation years ago. But here, in this chaotic, beautiful city, I'd found someone who actually wanted me around. "Will you stay tonight?" I asked as we reached my building. She smiled, that same gentle smile that had captured me 10 months ago. "Of course, darling. Where else would I go?" Nowhere else, I thought, because this was real. This was my second chance at love, at maturity, at being the man someone could depend on. I was certain of it. 10 months earlier, I'd stepped off that plane at Suvarnabhumi Airport with 2 suitcases and a heart full of hope mixed with fear. Calgary had become too cold, too quiet, too full of memories I wanted to forget. The divorce papers with Sarah were barely dry, and my kids, well, they'd made it clear they had their own lives now. Emma was busy with her career and her new family. Michael barely returned my calls. I was just the old man who'd disappointed them one too many times. Thailand was supposed to be my fresh start. Cheap living, warm weather, and maybe some peace in my golden years. I'd read about guys like me making new lives here, but I wasn't looking for anything complicated. Just wanted to fade into the background and enjoy my retirement without judgment. The dental clinic on Sukhumvit Road was nothing special, just a clean white office where I'd gone to get my teeth cleaned. Healthcare was so much cheaper here, and I figured I'd better take care of myself if I was going to be alone. That's when I first saw her. Fawini was bent over the reception desk, her long black hair falling like a curtain as she organized patient files. "You're new to Bangkok?" she asked in careful English when I checked in. There was something different about her immediately. She wasn't like the girls I'd seen hanging around the tourist areas, all bright makeup and short skirts. She wore a simple blue uniform, spoke quietly, and when she smiled, it reached her eyes. "Just moved here last month," I told her. "Still figuring things out." She nodded sympathetically. "It must be lonely, leaving everything behind." Lonely. Yes, that was exactly what it was. But somehow, when she said it, it didn't feel like pity. It felt like understanding. After my cleaning, I was heading out when she appeared at my side. "Excuse me, Mr. Leland," she said, checking a clipboard. "Dr. Siraporn wanted me to give you some aftercare instructions. But maybe, if you're not busy, I could explain them over coffee? I finish work in 1 hour." I should have been suspicious. A beautiful 34-year-old woman asking out a broken-down 67-year-old mechanic from Canada, but I wasn't thinking clearly. I was thinking about how long it had been since anyone had wanted to spend time with me by choice. "I'd like that very much," I said, and meant it. We went to a small cafe near her work, nothing fancy. She ordered Thai tea and spoke softly about her life. She lived with her mother in a small apartment in Lat Frau. She'd studied to be a dental assistant but dreamed of having her own clinic someday. She'd never been married, had no children, spent most of her time working or taking care of her sick mother. "What about you?" she asked. "What brought you to Thailand?" I found myself telling her things I hadn't told anyone. About the divorce, about how my kids had grown distant, about feeling invisible in my own life back home. She listened without judgment, nodding at all the right moments. "You seem like a good man," she said finally. "Sometimes good people just need a new beginning." She wasn't like the girls in Nana Plaza or Patpong, the ones who saw dollar signs when they looked at foreigners. She didn't ask for anything, didn't even let me pay for her tea. When I offered to drive her home, she politely declined. "Maybe next time," she said, with that gentle smile. Next time. Those words kept me awake that night in my empty condo, staring at the ceiling fan and feeling something I hadn't felt in years: hope. My phone was stolen on the BTS. Fawini told me 3 weeks into what I was starting to think of as our relationship. We were having dinner at a riverside restaurant, and she seemed genuinely distressed. I lost all my contacts, my photos, everything. I don't know what to do. Without hesitation, I reached for my wallet. "Let's get you a new one tomorrow," I said. "What kind did you have?" She described an iPhone, the latest model, and I didn't think twice about spending the 30,000 baht. Seeing her face light up when I handed her the box was worth every penny. But 2 weeks later, I noticed something odd. She was using what looked like the exact same phone she'd supposedly lost, just newer. When I mentioned it casually, she laughed it off. "Oh, this old thing? I found my backup phone at home. Silly me, I forgot I had it." I didn't want to be the jealous old man, so I kept my mouth shut. But little things started adding up. She'd cancel our dinner plans, saying she had to work late at the clinic, but then I'd see photos on her Facebook of her out with friends at bars and clubs. When I asked about it, she'd say they were work events, networking for her future clinic. "You don't trust me?" she asked one night when I brought up the photos gently. There were tears in her eyes, real tears. "After everything we've shared, you think I'm lying to you?" The hurt in her voice cut right through me. I felt like a fool for even questioning her. "No, baby. I'm sorry," I said, pulling her close. "I just worry about you being out so late in the city." She melted into my arms, soft and warm and forgiving. "I know you worry because you care," she whispered. "That's what I love about you." Love. She'd said the word. Standing there in my kitchen, holding her while she forgave me for doubting her, I felt that familiar rush of gratitude. This beautiful, intelligent woman loved me. Flaws, age spots, gray hair, and all. There were other small things. Money I'd given her for her mother's medical bills. But then seeing new jewelry on her wrists. Expensive dinners she'd post photos of on nights when she said she was too tired to see me. But every time doubt crept in, she'd do something that made me feel special again. She'd show up at my door with homemade somtam, or massage my shoulders after a long day, or simply hold my hand and tell me how grateful she was to have me in her life. I didn't want to be suspicious. I wanted to be the kind of man who trusted the woman he loved. Sarah had always accused me of being paranoid, of never believing in good things. Maybe this was my chance to prove I could change, that I could accept love without questioning it to death. You're different from other men, Fawini would tell me. You have a good heart. And sitting there in the warm Bangkok night, her head on my shoulder, I wanted so badly to believe that was enough. The call came on a Tuesday morning while Fawini was in the shower. Emma's name on my phone screen made my heart race. We hadn't spoken in 3 months, not since I'd sent her my new address and phone number from Bangkok. Dad? Her voice sounded older, more tired than I remembered. Hi, sweetheart, how are you? How are the kids? I could hear cartoons playing in the background, my grandchildren's voices chattering about something important in their 5- and 7-year-old world. We're good, Dad. Listen, I've been thinking. Maybe it's time the kids met their grandfather properly. Would you be okay if we came to visit? Just for a week or so? My chest tightened with an emotion I couldn't name. Joy? Terror? You want to come here? To Bangkok? If that's okay. I know things have been complicated since the divorce, but the kids ask about you. Tommy keeps asking why Grandpa lives so far away. Tommy, my grandson, who'd been 3 the last time I'd seen him. He probably didn't even remember me. Yes, I said, maybe too quickly. Yes, of course. When were you thinking? We talked dates, logistics, hotels versus staying at my place. I was grinning like an idiot by the time we hung up. My family was coming to see me. After all these years of feeling like an afterthought, they wanted to be part of my new life. I was so excited I could barely wait for Fawini to finish her shower. Baby, the most amazing thing just happened. I called out as she emerged in her towel. My daughter's coming to visit, with her kids, my grandchildren. She stopped toweling her hair, something shifting in her expression. When? She asked, her voice flat. In 6 weeks. Emma's taking vacation time. I thought we could show them the temples, maybe take them to the floating market. I was already making plans, imagining introducing my grandchildren to the city that had become my home. Fawini sat heavily on the bed, still in her towel. I don't think that's a good idea, Leland. The way she said my name, formal and distant, sent a chill through me. What do you mean? This is my home too now. Our home. I don't want strangers here, going through my things, judging me. Strangers. She was calling my family strangers. They're not strangers, Fawini. They're my children. My grandchildren. She stood up, pulling on clothes with sharp, angry movements. Your ex-wife's children. The ones who ignored you for years until now. Why do you think they suddenly want to visit? They probably heard about me, about us, and they want to make sure their inheritance is safe. That's not fair. Emma wouldn't. But she cut me off with a look that could freeze fire. If you bring them here, I won't be here. It's them or me, Leland. Choose. The words hung in the air like smoke from a gun. Choose. Between the family I'd lost and the love I'd found. Between the past that had rejected me and the future that wanted me. I stood there in my bedroom, watching the woman I loved pack her purse with violent efficiency. Fawini, please. We can work this out. Maybe they could stay at a hotel. She turned to me, and for just a moment, her mask slipped. The gentle, loving woman disappeared, replaced by someone cold and calculating. I've given you everything, Leland. My time, my body, my love. I moved into your home, I take care of you, I make you feel young again, and this is how you repay me? By choosing people who don't even care about you? She grabbed her keys from the dresser and headed for the door. When you decide what's more important to you, call me, but don't expect me to wait forever. The door slammed behind her, leaving me standing alone in the sudden silence of my condo. She said it was them or her. I didn't know what to say. Because deep down, terrifyingly deep down, I was already calculating whether I could live without her. Whether my grandchildren's visit was worth losing the only person who'd made me feel alive in years. The phone call to Emma was the hardest thing I'd done since signing my divorce papers. She answered on the 3rd ring, sounding excited and slightly out of breath. Dad, I was just booking our flights. The kids are so excited, they've been looking at pictures of elephants all week. The joy in her voice made my stomach turn. How could I do this? How could I break my daughter's heart to save my own? Emma, sweetheart, I need to talk to you about the visit. The silence stretched between us, 8,000 miles of disappointment waiting to happen. What's wrong, Dad? It's just, The timing isn't great right now. There's some construction in my building. And my girlfriend, she's got some family issues happening. And I was rambling, making excuses that sounded pathetic even to me. Your girlfriend. Emma's voice went flat. You're canceling because of your girlfriend. It's not like that. It's complicated. Maybe in a few months, when things settle down. Save it, Dad. The hurt in her voice was worse than anger would have been. I should have known. You move halfway around the world, find some young Thai woman, and suddenly your real family becomes inconvenient. Emma, please, that's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been having a father who didn't abandon his family for a midlife crisis. Fair would have been you fighting for us instead of running away to Thailand the minute things got difficult. The line went dead. She'd hung up on me. I stared at my phone for 10 minutes, drafting text messages I'd never send, thinking of explanations that would never be enough. When Fawini came back that evening, she was all smiles again. She'd brought takeout from my favorite restaurant and wore the dress I'd bought her for her birthday. I missed you today, darling, she said, kissing my cheek as if nothing had happened. I called Emma, I told her. Told her now wasn't a good time for a visit. She paused in unpacking the food containers, then turned to me with genuine-looking relief. Oh, Leland, thank you for understanding. I know it wasn't easy, but we need this time together, just us. Your family will always be there, but this, what we have, it's special. It needs protecting. She was right, I told myself. Love meant sacrifice. My kids were adults with their own lives. They'd managed fine without me for years. They could manage a little longer. But Fawini needed me now, depended on me, loved me in a way no one else ever had. That weekend, she suggested we take a trip to Hua Hin. Just the two of us, she said, running her fingers through my hair. We can walk on the beach, eat fresh seafood, forget about all the stress. It sounded perfect, romantic, like what couples in love did. We stayed in a beachfront resort that cost more than I'd spent on rent back in Calgary. Fawini looked stunning in her bikini, drawing admiring glances from men half my age. But she only had eyes for me, or so it seemed. She held my hand as we walked the beach, fed me pieces of mango at sunset, made love to me like I was the only man in the world. But even surrounded by all that beauty, with this incredible woman telling me she loved me, I felt hollow. There was a hole growing inside me, shaped like my daughter's voice saying, I should have known. Shaped like grandchildren I might never really know. You're quiet tonight, Fawini observed on our last evening, as we sat on the hotel balcony watching fishing boats dot the horizon. Are you still thinking about your daughter? I nodded, not trusting my voice. She moved closer, taking my hand in both of hers. I know it hurts now, but you made the right choice. Family should understand, should want you to be happy. If they can't accept me, accept us, then they're not the family you thought they were. I told myself love meant sacrifice. But who was really sacrificing? I was giving up my children, my grandchildren, my connection to the life I'd built over 67 years. What was she giving up? What was she sacrificing for our love? But I pushed those thoughts away, because the alternative, admitting I'd chosen wrong, admitting I'd destroyed my relationship with my daughter for a woman who might not deserve it, was too terrible to consider. She'd had too much to drink at dinner. We'd been celebrating her promotion at the dental clinic, or at least that's what she'd told me. 3 bottles of wine between us, though I'd only had a glass and a half. Fawini wasn't usually a heavy drinker, but she seemed to be celebrating something bigger than a work promotion. Back at my condo, she stumbled getting out of the taxi, laughing at everything and nothing. I helped her to the couch, brought her water, told her to take it easy. You're so good to me, my darling. She slurred, pulling me down for a sloppy kiss. So good to me. She passed out around midnight, still fully dressed, her purse spilled across the coffee table. I was cleaning up, putting her things back in her bag, when I saw it. A second phone, identical to the one I'd bought her, but with a different case, a pink case with rhinestones that spelled out boss. I should have put it back, should have respected her privacy. But something in my gut, some instinct I'd been ignoring for months, made me pick it up. The screen was still unlocked. The messages were in Thai, but the numbers were universal. Screenshots of bank transfers. My bank transfers. Every payment I'd made to her over the past 10 months, documented with timestamps and amounts, 50,000 baht for her mother's medicine, 75,000 for the dental surgery, 30,000 for the phone, 25,000 for her rent when she was between paychecks. But it was the messages that destroyed me. Translated through Google, they painted a picture I'd been too blind to see. Messages to someone saved as boss with a heart emoji. Don't worry, he still thinks I love him. Just one more payment and I can open the clinic. He's lonely and desperate. Easy target. Old farang with pension. I told him my mama needs surgery again. He believed it. They always believe the mama story. And then, the one that shattered whatever was left of my heart. He made me choose between him and his family. I won. These old men are so predictable. Cut them off from everyone else, and they'll do anything to keep you. I sat there in my living room. This woman I loved passed out on my couch, reading message after message that revealed the truth about our entire relationship. I wasn't her partner. I wasn't her lover. I wasn't even her friend. I was her retirement plan. The phone slipped from my hands, clattering to the floor. Fawaini stirred but didn't wake. I looked at her face, peaceful in sleep, and tried to find any trace of the woman who'd held my hand and called me her forever. But all I could see now were the calculations behind her smile, the acting behind every loving word. How long had she been planning this? From that very first day at the dental clinic? Had anything between us ever been real, or had I been living in a carefully constructed fantasy designed to separate me from my money and my family? I picked up the phone again, scrolling through more messages. There were others, other boyfriends, other lonely expats she was managing with promises and performances. I was just one client in a portfolio of broken old men who thought they'd found love in Thailand. That's when I knew. I wasn't her partner. I was her paycheck. And I'd given up my children, my grandchildren, my connection to everyone who'd ever really loved me, for a woman who saw me as nothing more than a walking ATM with feelings she could manipulate. I sat there until dawn, holding that phone, reading our entire relationship translated into cold, calculating business transactions. When Fawaini finally woke up, stretching like a cat and smiling at me with those same lying lips, I knew exactly what I had to do. "Good morning, my love," she said, stretching and yawning like she didn't have a care in the world. "Thank you for taking care of me last night. I think I had too much wine." She was still in her dress from dinner, makeup smudged, but somehow she managed to look beautiful even in the harsh morning light. I held up the pink phone. Her smile froze. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt inside. She sat up slowly, all traces of sleepiness gone from her eyes. For a moment, I saw something flicker across her face, fear maybe, or calculation. Then the mask slipped back into place. "That's my old phone," she said casually. "I told you I found it at home, remember?" But her voice had changed, become more careful, more controlled. I read the messages, Fawaini, all of them. I set the phone on the coffee table between us like evidence in a trial. "I know about the other men. I know about the bank transfers. I know what you really think of me." She stood up, smoothing down her dress with deliberate movements. When she looked at me again, the gentle woman I'd fallen in love with was completely gone. In her place was someone harder, more calculating. "You went through my private phone?" she asked, her voice rising with manufactured outrage. "You violated my privacy? After everything I've done for you, everything I've sacrificed, and you don't trust me enough to respect my personal property? Everything you've sacrificed." I couldn't keep the bitterness out of my voice. "What exactly have you sacrificed, Fawaini? What have you given up for this relationship?" She turned away from me, walking to the window, and when she spoke again, her voice was cold as steel. "I gave up my freedom. I gave up other opportunities. I gave up men my own age who wanted to marry me, to have children with me. I chose you instead. You chose my bank account." She whirled around, and for the first time since I'd known her, her composure cracked. "So what if I did? You think I'm stupid? You think I don't know what this is? Old foreign man, young Thai woman? You got what you paid for, Leland. You got someone beautiful who made you feel young and important. Don't pretend this was some great romance." Her words hit me like physical blows. "The messages said you were planning to leave me, that you were just waiting for enough money to open your clinic." She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "And what if I was? What did you expect? That I'd spend the rest of my life taking care of an old man out of love? That I'd give up my dreams, my future, For someone who could die any day? You told me you loved me. I told you what you needed to hear, what you wanted to hear. Just like you told yourself that your family didn't matter, that cutting them out of your life for me was romantic instead of pathetic. That hit home harder than anything else. Because she was right. I had told myself that. I had convinced myself that choosing her over my children was proof of my love, not evidence of my weakness. I want you to leave, I said quietly. She was already moving, gathering her things with the efficiency of someone who'd done this before. I never made you send me any money, she said as she packed. I never forced you to choose between me and your family. You did all of that yourself because you were desperate to feel wanted. She paused at the door, keys in hand, and looked back at me with something that might have been pity. You can believe what you want about me, Leland. But the truth is, you got exactly what you paid for. The only difference between me and your ex-wife is that I was honest about what it cost. Then she was gone, leaving the apartment key on the table next to that pink phone. She left with no goodbye, no closure. Just silence and the echo of truth I wasn't ready to hear. I sat in my empty condo, surrounded by things I'd bought for her, artifacts of a love that had never existed. A gold bracelet on the nightstand, designer clothes in the closet, even a rice cooker I'd bought for her mother's supposedly failing health. Everything felt fake now. The whole life I'd built in Bangkok, the whole relationship I'd sacrificed my family for, had been nothing but an elaborate performance designed to separate me from my money and my connections to everyone who'd ever really loved me. The silence in my condo was deafening. For 10 months, this place had felt alive with Faye Winey's presence. Her toiletries in the bathroom, her clothes in the closet, her laughter echoing off the walls. Now it felt like a mausoleum, filled with the ghosts of conversations that had never been real. I tried calling Emma, straight to voicemail. I tried texting. No response. Finally, 3 days after Fawaini left, I got a message back. Hope she was worth it, Dad. 5 words that summed up the destruction of 2 relationships. My daughter, who I'd spent years trying to rebuild a connection with after the divorce. My grandchildren, who I'd never really gotten to know. All of it sacrificed for a woman who'd never existed in the first place. I wandered through my condo like a ghost, picking up reminders of my stupidity. The gold bracelet I'd bought Fawaini for her birthday, still in its box because she'd forgotten it when she left. The expensive face cream she'd asked for to keep herself beautiful for me. The silk scarves, the handbags, the jewelry, all carefully chosen to make her happy, to keep her interested, to prove I was worth staying with. On the kitchen counter sat the rice cooker I'd bought for her mother. Mama's old one is broken, she'd said with tears in her eyes. She loves rice but can't afford a new cooker. $60 American for a rice cooker for a woman who probably didn't exist, or if she did, had never heard of me. I opened my laptop and checked my bank statements, really looked at them for the first time in months. The numbers were staggering. Over the 10 months I'd known Fawaini, I'd transferred nearly 300,000 baht, almost $10,000 American. Emergency dental surgery, rent assistance, phone replacement, family medical bills, school fees for a cousin who needed help. Every sob story had been accompanied by tears, gratitude, and promises that this would be the last time. But it was never the last time. Because I'd never been her boyfriend. I'd been her business plan. My phone rang. For a moment, my heart leaped, thinking it might be Emma or even Fawaini. Instead, it was Michael, my son, calling from Vancouver. Dad? Emma told me what happened with the Thailand visit. His voice was careful, neutral. We'd never been close, Michael and I. Too much like his mother, too judgmental of my choices. I made a mistake, I said, not sure why I was admitting it to him. Yeah, well, we all make mistakes. But Emma's really hurt, Dad. The kids were so excited to meet you. Tommy's been asking when Grandpa is coming home. Home. I looked around my Bangkok condo, at the expensive furniture, and the view of the city I'd thought would be my paradise. None of it felt like home anymore. I know I screwed up, I said. I thought I'd found something real here. With the girlfriend who didn't want your family around? Michael's voice was sharp now. Dad, come on. You're smarter than that. Was I? Because sitting there, surrounded by evidence of my own gullibility, I wasn't sure anymore. I'd been so desperate to feel wanted, so hungry for affection and validation, that I'd mistaken manipulation for love and isolation for intimacy. She's gone now, I said finally. Good. Maybe now you can remember who your real family is. After Michael hung up, I sat in the growing darkness of my condo, thinking about family, real family, the kind that argues with you and disappoints you and still shows up when you need them, the kind that doesn't require bank transfers to prove love. I chose her. She never chose me. That was the truth I'd been avoiding for months. Every time she'd asked for money, every time she'd canceled plans, every time she'd made me choose between her comfort and my family's feelings, I'd chosen her, and she'd never chosen anything but my bank account. I looked at my phone, at Emma's last message still glowing on the screen. Hope she was worth it. The answer was obvious, had always been obvious. No woman was worth losing your children. No love was worth cutting yourself off from everyone who'd ever really cared about you. But knowing that now, when it was too late, felt like another kind of punishment for my stupidity. I started packing on a Tuesday morning when the Bangkok heat was already making my condo feel like an oven. 10 months of life in Thailand fit into 2 suitcases, just like when I'd arrived. Funny how little you really need when you strip away all the things you bought to impress someone who was never impressed by you in the first place. The gold bracelet went in the trash. The rice cooker too. Everything I'd bought for Fawaini, or because of her, I either threw away or donated to the building's cleaning staff. Let someone else get some use out of the debris of my delusions. I found a small town in northern Thailand called Chiang Rai. Quiet, cooler in the mountains, far from Bangkok and the ghosts of my stupidity. The rent was cheap, the people were kind, and no one knew my story or cared about my failures. It seemed like a good place to disappear. Before I left Bangkok, I did something I should have done months ago. I deleted Fawaini's contact from my phone. Not blocked, just deleted. She was part of a life I was choosing to leave behind, and I didn't want any reminders of how completely I'd fooled myself. Then I sat down at my kitchen table and wrote a letter. Not an email, not a text, but an actual handwritten letter on real paper. It took me 3 attempts to get it right. Dear Emma, I wrote. I know saying I'm sorry isn't enough. I know I can't undo the hurt I caused or take back the choice I made. You were right about everything. I let my loneliness and my fear of being alone make me stupid. I chose someone who never cared about me over the family that always has. My hand cramped from writing, but I kept going. I'm not asking for forgiveness because I don't deserve it. I'm not asking for another chance because I already wasted the ones you gave me. I'm just telling you the truth finally. The woman I chose over my family never existed. She was a performance designed to separate me from my money and my connections to everyone who mattered. I told her about the messages, about the other men, about the calculated way Fawaini had isolated me from everyone who might have warned me or supported me. I told her about waking up in my empty condo and realizing I'd traded everything real in my life for something that had never been real at all. I can't change what I did, I continued, but I can finally stop lying to myself about it. I moved to northern Thailand, away from Bangkok and the memories of my mistakes. I'm learning to live with the consequences of my choices. I'm learning to be alone without being desperate about it. At the end of the letter, I included my new address and phone number. Not because I expected her to use them, but because I wanted her to know where I was, who I was trying to become. If you ever want to talk, I wrote, I'm here. Not demanding anything, not expecting anything, just available if you decide your father is worth another conversation. I mailed the letter from the post office in Chiang Rai after I'd settled into my new apartment. It would take 2 weeks to reach Emma in Calgary. 2 weeks for her to decide whether my attempt at honesty was too little, too late, or whether there might be a small chance for redemption. Chiang Rai was everything.